Welcome to Community Updates. I'm Emmanuel Ortiz.
And I'm Victoria Straight. On Wednesdays beginning April 28th through June 16th at 11 a.m., Conant Public Library will be hosting Story Time in the Park for children 7 and under. Bring your blanket and mask to Sterling's Memorial Park. No registration is required, but if you have questions or if weather is questionable, please contact Conant Public Library at 978-422-6409. In accordance with the Department of Environmental Protection, the town of Sterling has put in place a mandatory water ban, which will run from May 1st through September 30th between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. The ban restricts daily non-essential outdoor water use from public water sources. Properties with even-numbered street addresses will be allowed to use irrigation systems and sprinklers on even calendar days, and properties with odd-numbered street addresses will be allowed on odd calendar days. However, you are asked to limit your outdoor watering to 1 day per week. Handheld watering of vegetable and flower gardens with the use of a hose is unrestricted and may be performed on any day. Please call the DPW at 978-422-6767 for further information. On Monday, May 3rd at 7 p.m., Conant Public Library will be hosting Simply Creative's chef Rob Scott via Facebook Live. During this event, which is sponsored by the Friends of Conant Public Library, participants will prepare 4 menu items, including spaghetti squash, burrito bowls, sheet pan fajitas, guacamole, and strawberry aquafresca. To register, please call Conant Public Library at 978-422-6409. And once you're registered, participants will be emailed the recipes so ingredients can be purchased prior to the program.
On Wednesday, April 28th, Thayer Memorial is hosting Teen Movie Club. Teens 14 to 18 can meet outside at Thayer Memorial Library at 6 p.m. to discuss the movie of the month. The movie has yet to be announced, but you'll be able to get a copy through the CW Mars system. You can register for this event by visiting thayermemoriallibrary.org. Thanks to the Friends of Lancaster Seniors, Pancakes on the Patio will be held on Tuesdays from 8:30 to 10 a.m., weather permitting. You'll be able to enjoy your pancake breakfast outside on the patio at the Senior Center. Reservations are required. To reserve your spot, please call 978-733-4076. On Tuesday, May 11th, Thayer Memorial Library will be hosting best-selling author Michael Togias, who will be presenting a narrated slide presentation featuring the demise of the lost towns. The presentation will take the audience on a natural history tour of the Quabbin Reservoir and surrounding area, and even including suggestions for day trips. To register for this event, email ksilverthorne@lancasterma.net. And now let's head over to Lex Thomas.
Thank you, Victoria and Emmanuel. As you know, Meg Kilcoyne, who is our representative in this area, and she's in her first year of doing this, has been a frequent guest, updating us on what is going on with the state insofar as how that impacts our communities as well. And our timing this time is just perfect because we are just heading into budget time. And so Meg is actually now in her pre-budget week. So Meg, welcome as always. So glad that you've found the time in your incredibly busy schedule, I'm sure, to take some time to speak with us and to update our viewers on what's happening. So what is happening with the budget?
Thank you, Lex, and thank you for having me. It's always so great to come here and talk to you and just give everybody a little update on what I've been up to sort of at the remote state house, so to speak. As you said, this is actually a perfect time to have this conversation because we are just several days out of beginning the debate over the House budget, which will be my first budget debate as state representative. So it's certainly an exciting time, but something that is a very serious thing to consider when you're talking about, where our public money should go. You always need to be so careful that you're spending it responsibly and it's going to be used effectively. And from my purposes, that it's going to bring much needed resource and benefits to our communities out here in the 12th Worcester District. So it's, we're all gearing up for it. The House Ways and Means budget, which is sort of like the draft, the budget that we work off of, came out last week. So I got to play a role in helping craft that as a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. And so that that budget right now is very promising. I think it has some great elements of that of great areas of spending that I think are going to be very useful for our communities and for the state as a whole. I think we've talked about this in our previous conversations, but all of us have known that throughout the pandemic, in addition to it being a public health crisis, it's put such an incredible strain on our economy, both here in Massachusetts and nationwide. So
it really has, and especially in this area, when we look at what we have here, we have tourism, we've got the agriculture, we've got small businesses, and they've all really been hurting. So can they look forward to anything in this budget?
So we did put in the House Ways and Means budget, there's funding allocated towards helping lift up some of our regional tourism in this area. So I think that's a really important recognition that we have a role to play in trying to bolster and support our local small businesses, our tourism opportunities, because that has taken a huge hit during this pandemic. I think, last summer, even though it was warmer and people could be outside, people didn't feel comfortable going to places. And, we're about to enter our spring and summer and later on in the fall months, which are some of the most critical times for a lot of our tourism out in this area to bring guests over. So the idea is making sure that we have some additional support for these organizations to help market, let people know they're still there, let people know that they're safe to visit, and to bring their families down. I think all of us are still very cautious in how we go out in public, but things are the weather's getting warmer. It's becoming much more nicer to be outside. And I'm feeling hopeful about the trajectory of the vaccines as we progress towards summer. So hopefully that'll create an opportunity in an environment where some of our small businesses and our tourist attractions that have so suffered over the last year, I should say, can have an opportunity to bring people back and to really thrive. Because prior to the pandemic, I mean, that was such a growing industry in our area, and it already had such a huge presence and was such an attraction to people all over the state. So I think that's just an important recognition that the state has a role to play in building some of that support, in addition to making sure that we're fulfilling our commitments to local aid, to education funding, and things like that.
Sure. Now, I know that this is going to be your first go round insofar as the debates and the process, but do you have any sense of how or if this is different from what was happening last year? Because, of course, last year at this time, we had just entered the pandemic crisis, and I think everybody was kind of reeling, and it seemed that, things it just brought everything to its knees. Do you have a sense of if that has alleviated this year?
I think that just based on conversations I've had with more senior members, based on my own conversations and various hearings and whatnot, we are in a far better place than we were last year for a few reasons. Now, for those that don't know, when the state made their budget, it got pushed back several months than when the normal schedule would be for the state to make these types of decisions, because there was no sense of where we'd be for revenue. Nobody knew what money we'd even have to spend, and there were a lot of fears that we were going to have to make significant cuts because of the huge impact on the economy. So it was pushed back several months. I believe that this current budget that we're in wasn't even debated until November, December of last session. And so there were some snowballing effects of that as well, that had an impact on some of our local municipalities and how they structure the budget, because there was no indication of what state money to expect. And now, one thing I can say, a couple things we're definitely in much better shape, is that the revenue projections for this fiscal year that we're debating now are looking very good. We're not quite at pre-pandemic levels, but we're certainly not in a place where we are going to have to make tough choices or sacrifice any really significant funding. And so I think there's going to be an opportunity to make sure that we are both making sure we're getting our communities aid that they need. And, obviously we need to be very responsible about how we make these fiscal decisions. But it's I think, there was fears that we were going to be, 7 billion in the hole, and that's not the case at all. And
You
where
know,
we may
and
have a surplus.
that is so wonderful. That really sounds like a success story, because when you say that, okay, it's not quite at pre-pandemic levels, but I think that there has been a fear in so many things that this pandemic, even though it's been a year, has set us back. Some people have even said decades in, you know, in
Absolutely.
different areas. So for us to be even approaching what it was at pre-pandemic, sounds to me like a very, very great achievement.
I give so much credit to the chair of Ways and Means, Aaron Michael. It's because his leadership really, he's been really determined to try to bring a sense of regularity and stability to this process. We are debating the budget the same week that it's been debated, you know, as far back as I can remember, and farther back than that. And the reason that something like that significant is we can then help our local municipal governments know what to expect. And I think that, you know, where with some examples, obviously the one we just talked about, supporting our regional tourism, you know, there really was also an effort to make sure that we weren't using our state funding to just plug all the COVID holes. We want to make sure that we're funding things in a way that will promote stability and normalcy. So if you're, you know, we're not going to dump a lot of money in one place and then take it away the next year. You know, we've been able to work, I think, really effectively with the federal delegation, and we're very lucky to have great federal representation out here that we're hopefully going to see federal money really play a role in helping some of the very COVID specific needs that we have. And I think those two things working together is going to play a huge role in getting us back to a more stable, normal place. So that's what I hope to help work towards in my own small way. And I feel cautiously optimistic that we're getting back to that place soon.
And Meg, on a more personal note, how's the year going for you? You are, of course, in your first year of this. Obviously, the learning curve must be enormous. And I know that you serve on several committees, and obviously you're very informed and engaged in the budget process. How's it going? Are you enjoying it?
It's been amazing. I think that one thing for me is I'm trying to just sort of, you know, you get so much information every day, which is amazing because there's so much that, you know, you need to learn about and that you want to learn about. But I always try to pause and like take things in too. I mean, we just had like this, I was able to attend several of the House Ways and Means hearing, and that was a really interesting way in which learning about how, you know, the committee gathers information from different state agencies on how they make the decisions on what funding goes where. We haven't had too many hearings yet, but those are just starting up soon. So, you know, once those start, it's going to be, again, a great opportunity to sit and listen and learn. And I think, you know, that's what next week's going to be about too. Even though things are going to be remote and on Zoom, the legislators there now have been really cognizant of trying to create opportunities for us to have these chances to hear what, you know, their perspectives and their arguments and hear debate. And so even though we can't physically be in the building, we're still learning so much and we're still meeting so many people. Actually, yesterday, to this point, I organized like a social meet and greet for the Women's Caucus and for us first year members, just to have a
Nice.
chance to kind of ask some questions about
Sure.
what to expect. And it was really great, and I think really helpful for us first years to hear from more senior members of what their experiences were and what their
Sure.
advice were.
And also a great opportunity just to bond as first year people,
Definitely.
and just, you know, so you're building not only networks but also friendships and a support community as well.
Definitely. And on a
Representative,
more,
go
sorry,
on.
Lex. I was just going to say on a more local level, the last few months I've had the opportunity to visit all the select boards in all of the 6 towns, which again is such an important way to hear from our local officials
Of
on
course.
what their priorities are, what their needs are. And so that helped me inform sort of what, you know, what I'll be pushing for next week in the budget as well.
Sure, and that also gives you a firsthand view of what each community is really dealing with and where the
Totally.
struggles are and where the successes are.
Definitely.
Marvelous. Representative Meg Kilcoyne, always a delight to speak with you. Good luck with this. I really tell you the truth, I envy you. I would just love to be able to zoom in on these budget processes and whatnot, and just learn the inside ropes. But I am certainly glad that you are there doing it for us in our communities of Sterling and Lancaster. And I look forward to the next time we speak. In the meantime, stay happy and stay healthy.
With May 4th, aka May the 4th be with you Day, the official day for all things Star Wars coming shortly, let me recommend 2 books that you may enjoy. The first one, Shadow of the Empire by Steve Perry, is a great novel that takes place between the movies The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Here, Princess Leia is working on plans to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, whereas Darth Vader must protect his position of power from Xizor, a ruthless crime boss eager to have the full favor of the Emperor. The Courtship of Princess Leia by Dave Wolverton explores the events after Return of the Jedi, when Princess Leia is asked to marry a prince for political stability over her love for Han Solo. A great book if you are looking for a balance of romance and adventure.
With town meetings coming up, we wanted to give you all the lowdown for what we have for information so far. In Lancaster, Candidates Night will be on April 27th via Zoom through the Lancaster Land Trust. The annual town meeting will be on May 3rd at 5:15 at the Bolton Fairgrounds in Lancaster. And the town election will be on Monday after the town meeting, May 10th at the Old Town Hall. In Sterling, the annual town meeting is going to be on June 14th at the Sterling Airport starting at 5:30 p.m. And the town election will be on June 21st at the Houghton Elementary School between noon and 7 p.m. For more information about your town meeting or the election, please contact your town clerk.
And that's all we have time for.
We'll see you next time on Community Updates.